The note slid out of the dryer and landed by my shoe like it chose me. It was a thin square of paper, soft from heat and steam, with 3 words written in blue pen. Keep on going. No name, no context. Just that small message on a gray Sunday at the Coin King laundromat on 37th Avenue in Jackson Heights, Queens. I stood there with a warm basket of socks and t-shirts and felt a little lighter. It was silly, but I put the paper in my wallet and kept folding. Outside, the street hummed with buses and the smell of roasted corn. Inside, machines rumbled like quiet thunder. I liked Sundays because I could move slow, drink bodega coffee, and reset my mind before the week started. My name is Ryan. I'm 27. I work in IT help desk for a hospital in Manhattan, and my laundry routine is the most stable thing in my life. I use the same blue basket. I buy the same coffee. I take the same corner folding table near the window, where the morning sun slides across the metal and warms my elbows. The owner, Mrs. Patel, knows me as Blue Basket, and she always waves when I walk in. That day, I turned on a small speaker and played an old playlist called Low Heat. Soft guitar, a few bright songs from college. Mrs. Patel didn't mind. She nodded to the beat while she counted quarters. A little boy tried to moonwalk between the washers and made his dad laugh. An older man in a Yankees cap gave me a thumbs up and said, "Good Sunday music, kid." I kept folding. A single sock, black with yellow stars, sat alone on the table. I looked around for its partner, but didn't see it. On a sudden impulse, I blamed the note. I found a piece of cardboard and wrote, "Lost and found. 1-star sock. Trade for a smile." I taped it above the table with blue painter's tape I keep in my backpack for no good reason. Then I propped the sock on the table like a tiny flag. People noticed. A nurse in scrubs giggled as she loaded a washer. A delivery driver stopped to read the sign and shook his head like, "New York." 10 minutes later, a teen with a skateboard rolled in, grabbed the sock, and lifted it in the air. "Yes, my mom's been asking," he said, and flashed a quick grin in my direction. It felt like I'd fixed something small in the world, and that small thing pushed me forward. Keep on going. I like that. I liked it enough to grab a milk crate from the back room. Mrs. Patel let me, and set it by the window with a handwritten label, "Lonely Socks and Friendly Notes." People started dropping things in. A faded grocery list in Spanish. A postcard from Florida with a pelican on it. A little recipe card that said lemon bars, Nadia's favorite. In the quiet moments between cycles, I read the notes like they were tiny windows into lives I didn't know. A bus driver named Luis left a Metro card with 20 cents and wrote, "Not useful, but maybe lucky." A woman named Priya left a small plant cutting in a yogurt cup with a sign, "Pot hose. Easy to keep alive. Like hope." I laughed at that, tucked the plant near the window, and kept folding. The nurse in scrubs came back and introduced herself as Maya. "Your sign made my Monday, and it's not even Monday," she said. We talked while her towels tumbled. She works nights at a clinic in Elmhurst. She likes quiet breakfast places and podcasts about cooking. When my dryer buzzed, I helped her carry a bag to the door, and she said, "See you next Sunday, Blue Basket." I walked home with clean clothes and the note in my wallet, and the silly feeling that something had shifted without making any noise. I live 3 blocks away in a small 1-bedroom with a view of the fire escape and a water tower that looks kind at sunset. I made instant oats, added a spoon of peanut butter, and stared at the recipe card. Lemon bars, Nadia's favorite. I don't know a Nadia. I don't bake. But the card had soft fingerprints and a grease stain in the corner that looked like a small sun. I read the steps and thought, why not? I went back out for lemons and flour, came home, and made a mess of the kitchen. The crust came out too thick. The filling was too tart. But when I dusted the top with powdered sugar, The bars looked like tiny snowy squares, and I felt proud. I wrapped half for the week and cut the rest into napkin-sized pieces. On a napkin, I wrote, "Thank you, Nadia, whoever you are." These helped. Then I fell asleep for an afternoon nap with the window open and the sound of a saxophone from the street mixing with distant traffic. On Monday, the hospital phones started ringing early. Printers refused to print. Passwords forgot themselves. People said, "I swear I didn't change anything." And I said, "Let's take a look," like a calm weather report. I like the part of my job where someone sighs in relief and says, "You saved me." Most problems are small, but small fixes still count. When I hit a quiet moment, I touched the note in my wallet. Keep on going. I thought of socks, lemon bars, and the milk crate by the window. I made it to Friday and felt tired but good. I bought a small pack of better lemon bars at a bakery to compare and decided mine still counted. On Saturday night, I cleaned the stovetop, watered the pot hose, and set my alarm for Sunday. I fell asleep smiling at the simple plan: laundry, music, maybe a new note on the board, and a slow walk home. It was nothing special. It was also everything I needed. By the second Sunday, the milk crate had a life of its own. Someone had added a small corkboard above it, and the board had 4 pushpins and a title written in black marker: Sunday Sock Exchange. I hadn't done that. Mrs. Patel hadn't either. "Customers," she said, shrugging, but her eyes were bright. On the corkboard were 3 little notes. 1. Trade, white gym sock, lonely. Will settle for any partner with a kind heart. 2. Recipe, salsa verde mile. See back. 3. A doodle of a cat wearing sunglasses. I arrived with my blue basket and a plate of lemon bars wrapped in foil. I placed them next to the milk crate with a sticky note. Thanks to whoever left the recipe card. I tried. People took a square, tasted, and made soft, happy noises that made me stand taller. A man in a Mets cap raised a bar like a toast. "Nadia would be proud," he said. "Are you Nadia?" I asked. He laughed. "I'm Tony. I run the deli 2 blocks down. But I have opinions." He offered a trade. 1 sesame bagel for 1 lemon bar. "Deal," I said. After we swapped, a woman in a bright yellow hoodie came in, moved straight to the board, and smiled. "You found my recipe," she said. "I'm Nadia." She had kind eyes and lemon juice clean hands. We talked while she loaded a washer. Her grandmother made those bars every Sunday. Nadia lost the card last week and thought it was gone. "Thank you for trying them," she said, taking a square. "You saved a little piece of my house." I felt shy and warm and told her about the note I found. She grinned. "I didn't leave that one," she said, "but I like it." The board filled up while our clothes spun. Maya, the nurse, left a tip for night shifts. "Keep a peppermint candy in your pocket. It wakes your brain." Luis, the bus driver, left the route times for the Q49 and circled the worst hour. A college kid named Jamal taped up a flyer. "Pick up basketball at Travers Park, Saturdays at 10. All levels." A guy with paint on his jeans, Mr. Chun, stacked a few free muffins near the crate with a handwritten sign. "I run the new bakery on 35th Avenue. Try these." Not perfect yet. He asked if he could use my speaker for a minute and put on a song from his childhood. The room hummed. People started talking across machines. It felt like camp laundry, no tents needed. I took a seat near the window, ate half a muffin, and watched the morning stretch into noon. Sunday has a soft spine. It bends without breaking. I like that. A thin line of rain showed up on the glass, and then stopped like it had second thoughts. I made a new sign for the board. "What's one small thing you can share?" A tip, a song, a story, a recipe, a plant cutting, a kind word. My letters weren't fancy, but they were mine. Priya, the plant person, came back with 2 more cuttings and a tiny jar for water. She handed me one and said, "This one is called String of Hearts. Easy. Pretty." I felt trusted. After she left, I plugged in my speaker and played a track with soft horns. A kid tried to whistle along. He didn't have it, so I showed him by shaping my mouth like a U, and he got close. His mom filmed him and laughed. I could feel my week getting better in advance. The board produced a small miracle at noon. The teen with the skateboard, the one who took the star sock, returned with its partner. "Turns out it wasn't mine," he said. "My bad." He left both socks and wrote, "Hope the stars find each other." 15 minutes later, an older woman in a lavender coat gasped near the crate. "My stars," she said, and pressed the socks to her chest like they were warm bread. Everyone clapped without planning it. It was a sweet, soft clap, more like a hug than noise. She looked at me and nodded, and I nodded back like a doorman for luck. When my dryers finished, I stayed longer just to watch. I learned that Mr. Chin's muffins improved with a sprinkle of sugar on top before baking. I learned that Jamal's jump shot is smooth only when he's not thinking. I learned that Maya adds cinnamon to black coffee on tough days. I learned that Luis plays dominoes with his uncle on the sidewalk near Roosevelt and lets kids slam the tiles because it sounds like thunder. At 2 o'clock, Mrs. Patel walked over, tapped the corkboard, and said, "We should make a sign for next Sunday. Maybe a little potluck? Plastic plates. Simple food." She looked at me. "You like to write. Write it." I did. Next Sunday, Laundry Day potluck, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Bring something small you like. We'll share and trade. Music allowed. Socks welcome. I drew a smiley face with socks for eyes. People took photos of the sign. Someone offered to bring a folding table. Someone else said they had extra cups. Tony promised cold seltzer. Nadia offered lemon bars that would not be too tart. I promised to try again and bring a better version. When I finally left, my basket was light, my shoulders were light, and my pockets smelled faintly like sugar. I went home, cleaned the counter, and set out the plant cuttings like new little friends learning how to stand. In the evening, I sat on the fire escape with an apple and watched the sky turn the color of dusty peaches. I thought about the note in my wallet, the sock reunion, and how a room full of machines could feel like a living room if you added music and a board with pushpins. "Keep on going," the note said. "Okay," I thought. "I will." The week rolled forward. I fixed laptops, answered tickets, and sent the same calm email message a dozen times. Try restarting. If that doesn't work, I'm happy to swing by. On Thursday night, I practiced lemon bars and got closer. I set a timer and didn't open the oven door just to peek. Progress tastes like patience and sugar. On Friday, I stopped by Mr. Chin's bakery for a coffee and told him the muffins were better with crunchy tops. He wrote, "Sugar sprinkle," yes, on a napkin like it was a contract and handed me a sesame bun for research. I felt involved in something, and it wasn't hard. It was just there, waiting, like a dryer full of warm cotton that needed 2 hands to hold. The potluck Sunday felt like a small holiday invented by a neighborhood. The sky was bright, and the air had that cool September edge that makes cold seltzer taste better. I arrived early with 2 trays of lemon bars and a bag of paper plates. Mrs. Patel taped a welcome sign to the door and tied a tiny string of flags across the window. Someone had chalked "Laundry Day Potluck" on the sidewalk with arrows pointing inside like treasure. I set the trays by the corkboard and put a fresh note under them. "Nadia, I followed your grandmother's steps and said thank you out loud after I powdered the sugar. It helped." She arrived with her own pan, gave me a small fist bump, and said, "Today you taste mine and I taste yours. Fair." By 11, the room had an easy, warm noise to it. Tony carried in a box of bagel halves with cream cheese in little cups and announced, "Breakfast diplomacy." Priya brought a salad with bright green herbs and called it everything in my fridge that still had life. Luis walked in with a cooler on a hand truck like a superhero and opened it to reveal seltzer, grape soda, and a few ice packs to share. Mr. Chun placed a tray of muffin tops, just the tops, sugar glittering under the light, and bowed like a magician. Maya came straight from a night shift with a tray of scrambled eggs and a foil pan and said, eyes half closed, protein. Trust me. Jamal brought a basketball signed by the kids at the park and set it on the cork board like a guest. People who weren't planning to stay stayed. They moved in slow circles between washers, like the machines were dancing and we were learning the steps. A tiny speaker played a playlist we built all week by scribbling song names on a sticky note. When Ain't No Mountain High Enough came on, a toddler clapped to the beat with both palms facing the wrong way. The lavender coat lady showed up in a soft blue sweater and squeezed my arm. I brought deviled eggs, she said, whispering like it was private news. My name is Ruth. She handed me a container, and I felt like I'd been given the keys to something old and good. Outside, a gust of wind lifted the edge of the sidewalk chalk and sent a few dusty clouds into the air. For a second we all looked up, and then we kept moving, like the moment had been a small test we passed by staying together. People told small stories while they spooned food onto plates. Tony said he moved to Queens from Bensonhurst because his cousin needed help, and he stayed because the light hits these streets nice in the morning. Priya said she grew up in Edison, New Jersey, and came to New York to feel the city vibrate. Luis said his uncle had taught him to double knot everything important. Maya said some nights at the clinic were hard, but good coffee and a 5-minute dance in the supply closet helped her reset. Mr. Chin talked about the first day his oven worked and how the smell surprised him into happiness. I told the story of the little blue note that started it all, and people nodded like they understood. Keep on going, I said, and it sounded simple and true. We did a gentle taste test of lemon bars. Nadia's were perfect, like a sunshine square with a soft cloud on top. Mine were finally balanced. She pointed at my crust and said, that's it. And I felt 10 years taller for a second. Ruth's deviled eggs disappeared in 5 minutes, with delighted sounds that felt like applause. Mr. Chin's muffin tops were chosen first by every kid and by every adult who remembered being a kid. Jamal taught 2 young brothers how to spin a basketball on a finger, and when one of them did it for 4 full seconds, the room cheered. At noon, a brief rain started, light as a memory. I looked at Mrs. Patel, and she looked at the door, and she said, we'll move it inside. And somehow we did, sliding the folding table between 2 dryers and the counter. Someone opened umbrellas at the doorway and leaned them together like a teepee. The rain tapped for 7 minutes and stopped. The street steamed for a while like a hot plate cooling down. A man I hadn't met before stood by the board, reading the notes and smiling. He wore paint-splattered boots and a denim jacket with a patch that said Mario. He wrote something on a clean card, pinned it high, and walked out with a gentle wave. When I came over, I read, Community mural? If you want to help paint a small wall at the end of the block, meet here next Sunday at 10. Bring old clothes. I'll bring paint and drop cloths. Mario. People gathered around the card and nodded at the idea like a song they already liked. I can make a sketch, Jamal said. I can bring tape, I said, tapping the roll in my backpack. I can bring lemonade, Ruth offered, very serious. It felt like our little room had stretched its walls without moving. At 1 o'clock, we cleaned up together. We stacked plates, washed pans in the back sink, and wiped the folding table until it shone. Mrs. Patel put a jar near the register labeled soap for the house, and people tossed in coins and a few bills. She pressed her hands together in thanks. I took a slow breath, looked around, and tried to hold the picture in my mind. A laundromat full of ordinary people doing ordinary work, plus music, sugar, and kindness. The corkboard had new notes now. Thank you. See you next Sunday. Muffin tops forever. Before I left, I added one more card. If your week is heavy, come fold with us next Sunday. We have music and a plant named Hope. Priya laughed out loud when she saw that. I walked home with the empty trays under my arm. The hall smelled like someone's curry and someone else's clean sheets. I put the trays in the sink and sat on the floor with my back against the couch, feeling the good tired after a day that mattered. Monday came soft. Work was work. I handled it. When people thanked me, I let it land. I bought painter's tape and cheap brushes on Tuesday. Wednesday night, I met Mario at the corner and looked at the wall, a pale rectangle between a deli and a locksmith. He showed me a sketch with a row of socks like flags, a lemon slice like a sun, a little plant with heart-shaped leaves, and a tiny bus with a smile. It's simple, he said, like our Sundays. Perfect, I said. On Thursday, I taught myself how to carry a full paint tray without trembling. On Friday, Ruth called the laundromat to ask if lemonade needed ice. Saturday morning, I put the blue note back in my wallet to make sure it came with me. On Sunday, we painted. Jamal outlined the socks while kids filled them with colors that didn't match and looked better because of it. Nadia painted the lemon sun in even strokes. Mr. Chun brought boxes of muffin tops and set them like trophies on the hood of a parked car with the owner's permission. Luis blocked traffic for 8 seconds so a toddler could add one big blue finger streak near the corner. People passing by asked what we were doing. We said, laundry, and then we laughed. At noon, we stepped back. The wall looked like joy with edges. Mrs. Patel took a photo with a Polaroid and pinned it to the corkboard inside the laundromat with a fresh note. We made this. I put my hand on the cool brick, looked at the small lemon sun, and felt the kind of warmth that doesn't leave when you walk home. It was nothing special. It was also everything. On the way back to my apartment, I caught my reflection in a store window. Same blue basket, same hoodie, same ordinary face, but softer around the eyes. I thought about the first lost sock, the first lemon bars, the first note that said, keep on going. I understood now that small things add up. A playlist, a muffin, a pushpin, a patient hand. They can turn a room of machines into a neighborhood and a simple Sunday into a light that lasts all week. I climbed the stairs, opened my door, and watered the plant named Hope. The leaves had grown longer. They rested against the glass like they trusted it to hold. I set my wallet on the table and took out the blue note. I taped it on the fridge between a grocery list and a photo of the mural. I made a sandwich, stood by the window, and ate slowly, content, while the water tower turned gold and the evening buses sighed along the avenue. Tomorrow would come early, with passwords and printers and little problems to solve. That was fine. My hands felt ready. My city felt friendly. My Sunday had given me enough to carry. And the note on my fridge, thin as it was, had the weight of a promise I could keep. Keep on going.